Hello and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be creating a project for CrafTangles and I decided to use their Love Notes Elements sheet and be inspired by those to create my project. So I'm going to be creating some Love Notes mini ATC cards here today. To begin with, I'm just going to fussy cut all the elements from this sheet and set it aside. To begin with, I'm using the CrafTangles white cardstock. And I have cut my paper down to 4 inches by 3 inches and I'm going to be creating a set of 6 cards. So this cardstock comes with dual texture, rough on one side and smooth on the other, and I am using the rough edge as my base. To prime my surface, I am going to be using the CrafTangles white gesso here, which gives me a nice white coat, priming my page for further texture and layers. I chose white because I'm aiming at a nice pastel, subtle look here, and having white as my background would help me in that. Once all my card bases are primed with gesso, I can now move forward to the next step. Here I have chosen 3 stencils from CrafTangles, the bubbles, the hexagons and the herringbone. And I am using the CrafTangles white texture paste, which is sand texture, and just applying texture on my paper bases through these stencils. So I use one stencil on 2 cards, and in that way all the 3 designs will be used across my 6 cards. Once my texture has dried, I decided to add color using Dina Wakley acrylic paints. So I'm just using a carnation and a magenta, that's like a baby pink, and a brighter pink for the bases. And I'm just squirting some out here on my craft table, diluting it with water. And as I begin working on the base, I mist the base with water first, and with the paintbrush lightly begin adding the lighter shade of the pink. So this helps the paint move and gives me a watercolor effect, which is not too bright for my bases. And as you can see, I don't cover the entire surface. I randomly just add this paint, making sure to leave white spaces as well. Once the light pink is down in place, I dilute my magenta and add splatter with that color, and so that brings a pop of color and depth to my background. With that done, my card bases are now complete. I wanted to now add some stamping, and I chose the Crazy Stitches stamp set by 49 and Market, and using black Archival Ink, I'm going to add some stamping to each of the cards. So I pick out my fussy cut elements that I cut out from the elements sheet earlier, and just keeping them as a focal, begin to add some stamping details with these stitched hearts around on my background. Next up, I just use some CrafTangles black cardstock and cut it half an inch bigger than my white cardstock base, so this will help me give a nice base and border for these cards. Now I'm just going to distress the edges of my fussy cut elements using black Archival ink, just adding in a little more shadow, depth and dimension, so that when I glue them down onto my card bases, they pop up and stand out. I now use spun sugar distress ink and just distress the edges of my white card bases, giving it a light pink border that would again help differentiate from my black cardstock base. With that done now, I can just glue my focal elements down. So I'm using some 3M foam tape here as well as some tacky glue and just playing around with these elements, adding one big element, a few smaller elements here and there to complete the composition of my card. I then just glue in some sequins in white and pink color for that extra detail. And I also go ahead and pick a nice border stamp from the same stamp set and add a stitched border all around my card. Not too dark, not too bright, but just a nice shadowy effect here and there, framing my entire card with these messy stitch lines. So in that way now I complete all my cards, just the same process that you saw before, gluing down all the elements and adding the details. That done, all my bases are ready and I am going to just add some phrase or sentiment onto each one of them. So for this I'm using Tim Holtz Ideology stickers, gluing them down onto some black cardstock so that it frames them and gluing it on my mini cards. With that done, now all I have to do is glue them on my black cardstock, and I use the same 3M foam on the white cardstock because that will just help me raise this, giving it a nice black border, adding depth and element to my cards. So that's a look at my cute love notes, ATCs. I've truly enjoyed creating these with minimal elements, and I do hope that you've enjoyed this video as well. Hit the thumbs up and let us know, and do leave your comments because that really encourages and motivates us. Until the next time, take care and bye-bye.